It happened on March 29, 1989. The Tokyo police of Japan were interrogating 4 boys in connection with the kidnapping and gang-related matters of a 19-year-old girl. All 4 boys were confessing that they had done wrong with a girl. However, the details they were providing did not match the information that the police already had. They were not matching up among themselves, so the police were interrogating those boys separately. However, despite interrogating them separately, their statements were somewhat similar, indicating that the boys were telling the truth, but concerning the case the police were investigating, further evidence was still needed to confirm their accounts. It is not about that but about some other specific case. Subsequently, the police interviewed the boys in greater depth regarding the case on which they had been providing statements, ultimately uncovering that these boys had previously been involved in related activities. After killing a girl, they put her inside a 55-gallon drum, filled it with concrete and dumped the drum at a construction site called Wakasu. Consequently, the police officers traveled to the designated construction site, thoroughly searched the entire area, and during their diligent investigation, they discovered a drum that contained the lifeless body of a young girl. After removing the girl's body from the drum, the body was sent for post-mortem. When the post-mortem report came out, the police learned that the cause of that girl's death was traumatic shock. She had been tortured extensively before her murder. Needles were found inside that girl's breasts. That is, needles were discovered embedded within her breasts. And plastic bottles were also found embedded in her rectal cavity. Before her death, the girl was pregnant and her face was severely damaged. For this reason, identifying her was almost impossible. However, the forensic team determined her identity through her fingerprints. That day at that location, one of the most gruesome and brutal cases in human history was revealed. Welcome back to another case study with me. My name is Amit, and in today's video we are going to discuss the case of Junko Furuta. This particular case begins in the bustling city of Minato, located in Japan, where 17 and old Junko Furuta resided together with their loving parents and younger brother. Throughout her time there, she was diligently studying at Yashio Minami High School and also maintained a steady part-time job at a local plastic molding factory, so that she could collect money for her graduation trip. Junko was very good looking and also performed well academically. For this reason, unwanted by some, she would still attract the boys in her school. Junko was nothing less than a dream girl for the boys in her school. There was a group of 4 boys in the same school who had dropped out, but they used to come to school often so they could interact with other students. Their strong and visible link with the local gangsters operating in that area caused the students, the faculty members, and the nearby residents to be genuinely scared and uneasy around them. The group included Hiroshi Miyano, 18 years old, Hiroshi Miyano, 17 years old, Joe Ogura, 6th-year-old Shinji Minato, and boys named Yasu Shiwatanabe. Among them, Hiroshi Miyano developed a deep crush on Junko, and one day he bravely confessed his feelings to Junko. However, Junko politely rejected him. On the 25th of November 1988, Hiroshi Miyano found himself unable to bear the unexpected and harsh rejection, persistently harboring intense anger deep within his troubled mind. Junko was finishing her part-time job and was going home on her bicycle. On the same road, Hiroshi Miyano and Shinji Minato were wandering around. After they spotted Junko going alone with the intent to take revenge, Hiroshi Miyano instructed Shinji Minato to also go and carry out the act of revenge. Tell him to knock her bicycle down. I'll use the pretext of helping to start a conversation with her. Immediately on order, Shinji goes and kicks the bicycle and Junko falls right there. At the same time, Hiroshi Miyano goes and offers her help. Hiroshi Miyano used to study at the same school and was acquainted with Junko. Because of this, Junko takes help from them. He takes Junko to a hotel in Adachi under the pretext of leaving home. There, he threatens Junko, saying that if she will make every attempt to escape or endeavor to call someone for help, and if she does not comply with his strict orders, he will instruct a member of his gang to carry out the killing of her mother and father. Because of this, Junko gets scared and becomes silent. Hiroshi Miyao does a lot of wrongdoing with Junko that night. Wrongdoing in the sense you all must have understood. When Hiroshi feels satisfied, he promptly calls his friend Shinji Minato along with 2 other close friends to engage in wrongdoing with Junko. After this incident had occurred, they were on the verge of leaving Junko exactly as she was, but suddenly they realized that if they left her in that state, she would go and inform the police about the matter. Therefore, they take her to Shinji Minato's house. Upon arriving at Shinji Minato's house, he tells Shinji's parents that Junko is his girlfriend, and from now on she will stay with them. Shinji's parents knew this, that Junko does not have a girlfriend, but still he remained silent because he himself was afraid of Shinji's gangster connections. Therefore, whatever Shinji did, they watched silently and did not say anything to him. They just endured it. Between the dates of the 25th of November in 1988 and the 4th of January in 1989, they subjected Junko to torture lasting a total of 44 days. During the initial several weeks, they consistently utilized Junko as a means to satisfactorily fulfill both their physical and sexual needs. When they were satisfied, they would invite even their distant friends to their home so that they could sexually abuse Junko. Many different boys had abused Junko. 3 days after Junko went missing, his concerned parents promptly filed an official missing person report at the local police station. Somehow those boys were able to find out about this important report. Subsequently, they compelled Junko against his will to contact his parents, coercing him into declaring that he had absconded together with a certain boy. Since he is happy and content with that boy and has no desire to continue trying to locate or find him, Junko's parents made the decision to formally withdraw the missing person report they had filed earlier. And the police officers were also unable to do anything in this case. Every day they would find different ways to torture Junko and also tried them, such as keeping him always naked, forcing him to masturbate in front of them, and inserting different objects into his genitals like a hot bulb. Iron rods, metal balls, glass bottles, numerous other objects, and occasionally various miscellaneous items would become lodged inside her genitals, and astonishingly, they were never removed. They remained trapped inside. When Junko's body was found by the police, the post-mortem report revealed that inside Junko's body, plastic bottles were found stuck. Here you can imagine how much the boys were torturing her. During the cold month of December, Junko made an attempt to flee from that location. However, unfortunately, the group of boys were able to apprehend Junko and subsequently punished her for her escape attempt. As punishment, they would take heavy dumbbells and deliberately drop them forcefully onto her sensitive groin area. Imagine, if a heavy dumbbell falls on someone's knees, their leg can break. Similarly, Junko's leg was broken. She was no longer able to walk, and whenever she needed to use the restroom, she would have to crawl, emerging on the other side while still crawling. This constant effort and strain left her utterly exhausted. They tortured her so much that she begged them every day, "Please kill me." It wasn't just that. They would deliberately pour scalding hot wax onto her body and then ruthlessly use lighter fuel to burn various different parts of her body in a cruel manner. They would not allow her to eat properly, forcing her to drink her own urine, and if she ever refused such abhorrent demands, they would mercilessly treat her as though she were nothing more than a mere punching bag. Due to lack of food, his immune system had become weak, his wounds weren't healing, they were just like that, fluids were leaking from inside him. Now those boys began to feel disgusted when they saw Junko because Junko's condition was no longer the same as before. She was now looking quite bad in the sense that blood was leaking from her body, bodily fluids were leaking from her body, and her face was badly damaged. The mere act of seeing her is incredibly frightening, yet despite this fear, they still tortured her relentlessly and refused to let her go. They had forcibly removed Junko's left side nipples with pliers, causing excruciating pain. They had detached them. Just imagine the unbearable agony he endured. We see in movies and the like that it happens to someone in real life. It's not just imagining it. Suddenly it starts to scare you why someone is so evil. On the specific date of January 4th, 1989, Hiroshi Miyano tragically lost all of his money while participating in gambling activities that day. And he vents his anger on Junko, saying, "Until she dies." On the morning of January 5th, 1989 at 10 a.m., Junko took her last breath. Hope this would be her last breath so that the crime wouldn't be caught. Because of this, they put Junko inside a 55-gallon drum. They proceeded to fill it entirely with concrete, and on the very next day, specifically on the night of January 5th, 1989, precisely at 8 o'clock p.m., they dumped it at a construction site in Wakasu. Hiroshi Miyano is sentenced to 20 years of imprisonment, Joe Ogura to 10 years of imprisonment, Shinji Minato to a 9-year sentence, and Yasushi Watanabe to a 7-year sentence. Additionally, and as further compensation for the incident, Hiroshi's concerned parents were required to pay Junko $8,000. In this way, one of the most disturbing and brutal cases in human history has been closed.